If you're anything like me, you probably have felt like the last year plus has just flown by and you can't remember really anything that's gone on. You've been answering emails, you've been scrolling, you've been doing the things that happen each day and you dive into them. But when you look back, you can't remember what you ate for dinner yesterday or what you did last weekend. And in all honesty, that is because the world is moving at a faster pace. We are inundated with technology, with notifications on our devices. We're being pulled in so many different directions every single day, which leads us often just moving through the motions and not being present. And what I've realized is that removes any opportunity for being present because we are doing rather than existing and being in the moment. And I've realized I personally have lost my ability to be present. And that's why I want to talk about mindfulness and how you can actually implement mindfulness every single day in ways that are actually quite simple. I am not talking about meditating for an hour or 2 hours a day. Mindfulness isn't about perfection, it's about being present. And I have been focusing on ways to be more mindful in my everyday that are light lifts. This is not to add more pressure or more stress to our daily life, because let's be honest, we already have enough of that. This is really about being able to slow down, to recognize what's happening so that we can remember the things that we've done, the meals that we've eaten, the times that we've spent with friends or family. Most importantly, that we can enjoy the life that we're living while we are living it. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I am so excited to have you here, whether you're new or you're returning. I appreciate all of you. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Ofori-Attah, and I share a lot of these little motivational chats because I'm constantly trying to figure out my life and my mindset and my productivity and my personal growth. So I figured I would share a lot of the learnings that I have practiced, maybe stumbled through, and I'm slowly arriving at with all of you so we can collectively do it together. And that's why I want to talk about mindfulness. When I was looking at 2024 and doing a bit of my year reflection and year recap, it was really hard for me to remember what I did last year. And I did a lot of things. I went to Italy for a wedding. I had friends visit me here in LA. I spent really beautiful weekends with my husband going for walks, going for hikes. But when I looked back, I couldn't remember those things because I realized I was on autopilot through so much of last year. And in all honesty, the years previous to it as well. And I was really struggling with being present in each day, being aware of what I'm doing, of what I'm living, and being aware of the life that I'm creating and making sure that it feels aligned with who I am. And in all honesty, that's what mindfulness is. When you think of mindfulness and you hear about it, we often think of, people we want to be like. Maybe they are thought leaders, they are motivational speakers. Maybe it is a monk, it is someone that you look up to who has this inner sense of peace and they have this ability to recognize the beauty of the world while they're living it. Mindfulness really is just about being present. It's about slowing down. It's about looking around ourselves, which is so hard to do when we are on our devices, our computers, our phones. We're being pulled in so many different directions. When we're stuck in traffic, we're feeling anxious and overwhelmed. It is so easy to just focus on the task at hand rather than looking at what you're experiencing, looking at the life that you're building and those moments that you are being able to enjoy and should be holding on to, being able to reflect on those in the future. And this isn't just something that happens to me. I know for a fact it happens to you because research shows that 47% of the time we are on autopilot. We are not being present in our life. We are just moving through the motions. We can't even recognize if a change has happened or something big is happening around us because we are just focused on the task at hand rather than being present in what we're living. So 47% of the time is pretty high if you think about it. That's almost like half of our existence we're not present. A great example of this is you are driving home, whether it's from the office, the grocery store, the gym, somewhere you go frequently. You pull into your driveway or you pull into your parking spot and you realize, did I hit any red lights? Did I stop at that stop sign? And you start to think about, was I even present on that drive home? Your brain has gone into autopilot and is likely thinking about your to-do lists, your tasks, whatever you are going home to do next, rather than being present. And yes, being present for your drive home or for being in traffic isn't necessarily the mindfulness that I'm trying to focus on, but it is an example of how easy it is for us to just get pulled in another direction, to get lost into our mind, to be daydreaming of what's next, working on our to-do list, thinking of outcomes or situations, and honestly, creating more stress for ourselves. The reality is, when we're able to train our brains to be more present, to be more mindful of the life that we are currently living, we gain control over our attention. We're less reactive, we're less emotional, and in all honesty, we're just happier, which is something that I'm really looking for this year, is a lot more joy and a lot more present moments, a lot more ease, and a lot more happiness. So the question really is how do we make those daily life changes to improve our mindfulness, improve our ability to be present, and really recognize what's happening while we are in it, rather than wishing we would have paid attention to it once it passes us. So the myth when it comes to mindfulness is that you have to carve out all this time. You need to meditate for an hour. And as someone who just struggles with meditating, that seems like just a nightmare to me. Or you need to be turning off your phone, removing devices from your home, all these different things that seem like a huge change from just where you are now to making slow steps to being more mindful. And one thing that I love that has helped me time and time again is breathing. We do it all the time. You're breathing right now. But being aware of your breath and the power that your breath has is a very, very powerful and easy mindfulness practice that you can do, honestly, right now. When you are aware of your breathing, you are able to slow down, to connect with your body, to feel again. And it can be as simple as 1 minute or 30 seconds of breathing. It's inhaling, likely for 4 or 8 seconds, holding it for 4 seconds, and exhaling it, and then doing it again. So you want to do this a couple times, but just getting in touch with your breathing. And if you're like me, sometimes thinking about my breathing makes me not breathe so well. So I don't focus on the count to start. I just focus on that deep inhale and that release and exhale, and try to imagine my stress and whatever the anxiety is that I'm feeling washing away with that exhale. When you do this, you're actually signaling your nervous system to relax, to remove itself from a fight or flight stance, and to become more present and aware of what's going on. Plus, the focus of more oxygen in your body actually feels good. You will start to feel a physical difference and feel like you're ready to focus on the task at hand or be more present with whatever you're experiencing. Another super simple practice of mindfulness that you can do truly every day, probably 3 times a day, is mindful eating. If you are like me, or like most of us, we often distract ourselves while we're eating. Whether we're watching something on TV, listening to a podcast, sometimes I will even read while I'm eating, which means that I'm not even paying attention to the food I'm eating. I'm not tasting it, I'm not feeling the texture, the different flavors, I'm not being aware of how well I'm chewing or maybe how unwell I'm chewing. The reality is there are usually things happening while we are eating, and we are not mindful for our food, for the nourishment, and how well we feel or when we are full. And I think that's a big reason so many of us struggle with eating and not enjoying it, because it feels like yet another task that we have to complete in a day, which is something I have said. I was like, if I didn't have to eat 3 meals a day, I could be so much more productive, which basically means I don't want to have 3 moments of joy throughout my day, because eating and enjoying your food, the taste, the flavor, all of the different things brings so much joy to our daily life, and it should actually do that when we're able to pay attention to it. So practice for you when you're at home is to remove the distractions while you're eating. No more TV, iPad, iPhone, scrolling, reading a book. No more anything while you are eating. If you're eating with a roommate or a partner or a family member, enjoy the conversation, but also be aware of how you are eating your food, how it tastes, how often you're chewing it, if you're actually giving it the, I think 15 or 20 chews you're supposed to chew. This not only will help with your mindfulness and appreciating food and remembering that it is an enjoyable experience we get every day, but it actually helps your digestion, which for me, I love anything that's sort of like a 2-in-1. If I'm focusing on mindfulness, but then my body and my digestion feels better, I'm sold. So that's something that I've become more aware of, especially during the workday, is to be more present during my lunch. Definitely not eating at my desk, which is something I have been doing for too long. So even starting with 1 meal and working that mindfulness into all 3 meals of your day is such an easy step and something so simple that you can do every single day. Another very easy, very practical way to be mindful is if you go for walks. And if you don't go for walks, now's the time to start going for walks. but not using the walk as some time to scroll on your phone, send a couple messages, get on a phone call, listen to a podcast. Have you ever gone for a silent walk or recently gone for a silent walk? I think years ago, I used to go for silent walks when there was less noise with technology or conversation with other people. But recently, I use my walks as time to send voice notes, to take a phone call, maybe have a meeting, listen to a podcast. Very rarely am I actually present on my walks. Am I listening to the sounds? Maybe the smells, depending on the day. The garbage day walk is not the best smell, but listening to the sounds, maybe the smells, feeling the ground under your feet, even just feeling like the crunch of leaves or snow in the winter. Whatever it may be, you want to slow down and start to pay attention to what's around you. Like truly stop and smell the roses. If there's flowers on your walk, stop and be present and actually enjoy the beauty that you are seeing. But the real trick is to put away all of the distractions. So I'm not going to say leave your phone at home. As a woman, always bring your phone with you, but not bring your AirPods or your headset. And definitely keep your phone in your pocket or in your satchel, wherever it may be. Do not feel like you should be multitasking on the walk. Allow your brain to pay attention to what's happening, to see what's around you, and recognize the beauty that is truly around all of us, but we miss so often because we are focused on what is next. This is where it gets a little bit harder, is mindfulness when things are not going so well. Maybe you are having a stressful period at work. You are at work and you feel like, I can't remove myself and deal with this, and you are feeling your anxiety start to build in you, or you have been thinking about things that give you anxiety and suddenly you feel out of control. This is really when mindfulness comes into play and matters the most. When you are feeling yourself on edge, about to react, maybe emotionally react, this is when you want to pause before you react. So I may even say to count to 10 or count to 5. For me personally, it really is a pause and then focusing on my breathing. So it's not 60 seconds of breathing. It's a pause, a recenter, focus on that inhale, and let that exhale go before I make any reaction, any decision. And this usually stops me from making an emotional reaction, something that I may regret later or not be proud of how I spoke or how I wrote that email or how I responded to someone. So being able to recognize when you are feeling yourself at that tipping point and then being able to stop yourself from going forward, to pause, to really collect yourself, get in touch with your nervous system once again, whether it is through that breathing, counting to 10, and really reminding yourself that you don't have to react the way you immediately feel, but actually start to think about what is the best reaction in this situation and not let your emotions drive you, especially those emotions of anxiety or fear or frustration, and really reconnect with yourself before you make a decision you may not be proud of, and center yourself into knowing that you can control your outcome, you can control how you respond, and reconnect with yourself to feel confident in the response you will make. This one is one I'm still working on, is instead of multitasking, which I do all the time, is single tasking. So yes, we are all trying to be more productive. We are all trying to do more, achieve more, which we think multitasking will bring us to that place. But oftentimes, multitasking actually takes our energy away from what we're doing, and we're not succeeding at all things. We're kind of just getting by in all those areas that we're trying to multitask. So really getting back to focusing on the task at hand, that one thing that you need to be doing. So maybe this is answering emails, is blocking out in your calendar or in your mental mind where you are going to answer emails, what period of day that is going to be. So maybe it's from 10 to 10:30. All you're doing is emails. You cannot open anything else. No other programs can be open. You can't pick up your phone and scroll or answer a text, whatever it may be. So starting to set boundaries so you are able to single task rather than multitask. And you'll start to see that in other small areas of your life, like a conversation with a friend, a roommate, partner, whomever. If you feel yourself reaching to grab for your phone when you are talking with someone truly in conversation, stop yourself from grabbing your phone. Whatever is happening on your phone is not imperative to break a human connection and a real conversation that you are having with someone. Unless you're waiting for a phone call, you can actually pause and say, can you take a second? I need to check if someone's calling me. Use your communication to be able to focus on the task that you're currently in, to then be able to shift your task to answering that phone call if you're waiting on a call, or if you're waiting on a message. But don't just aimlessly pick up your phone and start scrolling the different notifications while you're trying to be present in a conversation. We all know how it feels to be on the receiving end of someone who is half in conversation, but more so in their device. And it's not really a great feeling. And I know I have been the person who has done that with my phone, and it's not something I'm proud of. So this is something that I'm very much working on. And it is an easy way to start being more mindful in your daily life, whether it is with those emails, focusing on that one task at a time, or being very present in the conversations you're having with a friend, a coworker, anyone. And the last trick when it comes to being mindful is probably one of the hardest ones, is with technology. I find myself picking up my phone multiple times during the day with one intention, thinking I'm going to respond to a DM or I am going to check something in my email. And suddenly it's been 10, 15, sometimes 30 plus minutes, and I have no idea what I originally picked my phone up to do, let alone how that much time has passed. Because I'm not being mindful, I'm not being present, and I'm not setting boundaries and being disciplined with technology. And technology truly has been created to suck us into this void of consumption overload, more content, this notification, that notification. There are too many push notifications on our phone to truly pick it up and be able to focus on one task at a time. So you have to be present before you pick up your phone. So I try to set an intention with why I'm picking up my phone, remind myself. Sometimes, you guys know, I speak in third person. So I tell myself, Mary, you are replying to this one DM. That is it. That's all I do. And I have to speak to myself through doing it so that I can actually stay focused on that one task and I don't try to multitask. But that one thing that I picked up my phone to do, when I've accomplished it, I put my phone down. Sometimes this means setting those boundaries with technology, like having my phone further away. If I'm at my desk and I know that I've become a little bit too lenient with my boundaries and I'm picking up my phone more often than not, I'll move my phone into the kitchen or into another room so it is not close to me. Nothing major is going to happen if I'm away from my phone for 30 minutes, 45 minutes, even a few hours, in all honesty. I also have an Apple Watch, so if a call comes in, I'll know who's calling me. But sometimes having these boundaries that are a bit more, I would say, drastic in terms of like removing the device from you, or having a different screen on your computer where you don't have certain apps open, or you don't have iMessage, or you don't have your email open, so that you can focus on one task, is what we need to do in order to teach ourselves about mindfulness, about being present, so that when we are able to have a bit more control, have a bit more boundaries and discipline, we'll be able to pick up our phone and just do that one thing, rather than picking up our phone and suddenly losing 20, 30 minutes of our day and wondering, I don't even know what happened, and now I feel worse, because you've gotten into that doom scrolling vortex that we just don't want to be in. And that's where mindfulness really comes in, is slowing down, reminding yourself to be present in what you're doing. Ask yourself why you're doing it, what the intention is, and what the outcome is, so that you can focus on that and not waste time being sucked into that technology vortex and losing all track of time and putting yourself back into a negative headspace. The biggest myth when it comes to mindfulness is that you will achieve this state of being, this place of feeling accomplished or feeling like you are at peace at all times. And in reality, it is not something you will ever arrive at. It really is something we have to continuously work on. It is a muscle that we have to flex and train and use. It is a constant practice and something that does get easier, the same way as going to the gym, lifting weights, doing certain workouts or routines over and over becomes easier when you do it. But it is something that we have to be very intentional with. And being intentional with mindfulness is a step towards mindfulness in itself. So you really are helping yourself when you are being proactive with asking yourself, how can I be more present? What sounds or what smells or what tastes can I experience in this moment? Being able to be very aware of where your mind is going or not going is the first step to mindfulness. And that's how mindfulness will become a bigger part of your day and become easier as you start to practice it. So similar to starting new habits, you want to think about how mindfulness can be easily woven into your day. So like I said, whether it is with your daily walks, your meals, maybe it's those stressful moments at work where you feel yourself hitting that tipping point, recognize different things that are happening in your day that maybe are more consistent, an everyday thing, like a meal, and start to stack mindfulness practices with those, the way you would habit stack, adding in a new habit, whether that's getting up early or having a new workout routine, or turning off the TV earlier at night. You want to stack the mindfulness practice with something that already exists, so you're more likely to actually stick with it and have this routine build faster. And like I said at the beginning, mindfulness is not about meditation for an hour every single day. It is not a big commitment. It really needs to start somewhere small. So even if that is with your phone, maybe that is your area of weakness, like myself, and you pick up your phone and you lose all sense of time. Maybe you need to set an alarm on your phone. The second you pick it up to do that one task, you put a little stopwatch alarm for 2 minutes. Do the task. If you start to see that you're going somewhere else, note that 2-minute reminder will go off. And once it does, you close your phone, you put it away. So starting small will allow you to not only start to learn about these habits and these practices, but also give you the confidence to stick with them and realize that it is something you have to be intentional with, and it does take practice, but you will start to see results. And it's very important to not be hard on yourself. So mindfulness and being intentional and being present isn't about perfection. It is about trying, it is about showing up, and it is about doing it even when it's hard. That's something I like to say is do it even when it's hard, even when you're afraid. That is one of the best things you can do for yourself when you're developing discipline or any areas of self-growth, is just doing it even when it doesn't feel good to do it. So not setting yourself up for failure by trying to implement all of these new mindfulness techniques, but really just taking it step by step and understanding some days are going to be better and other days you might fall off. And that's okay. There's a little bit of ebb and flow and give and take, but the main thing is you're going to keep trying and keep working on putting these mindfulness practices into your daily life and start to feel them. So for me, I have committed to being more mindful with eating, especially my lunches. During the weekday, I will not be eating at my desk. I will be very present with my meal, understanding what I'm eating, the taste, the flavor, how many bites I'm taking, and focusing on being present with the meal, enjoying the nutritious meal that I'm having, knowing that it's fueling me to get back to work after, and being grateful for it. That is a big part that I want to implement, is more gratitude within my mindfulness. So I would love to know what you are going to do mindfulness-wise. What is one thing that you're going to start today? It could be the phone, it could be meals with me, or it could be your daily walk. What is something that you are ready to commit to when it comes to mindfulness to start to slow down, be a little bit present, so that when we look back on this year, we can remember all of the things that happened to us. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you want more motivational chats, you can find them on my page, and I will see all of you on the next one.